back to Devans Biology. In this video series of respiration in plants, we have already discussed in detail the full mechanism of respiration, the full mechanism of aerobic respiration. In mechanism of aerobic respiration, we saw that glucose, one molecule of glucose is completely oxidized. In this full mechanism, there were huge number of ATPs produced. So today, let's see the total account of ATPs produced, how many ATPs are produced in which reaction. The full detailed discussion will be done in this video today. There were main three stages in which glucose was completely oxidized. The first stage was glycolysis, in which one molecule of glucose was oxidized to pyruvic acid, two molecules of pyruvic acid. In the next stage, pyruvic acid oxidation was done. The third stage was Krebs citric acid cycle, in which again many ATPs were produced. So let us have a detailed look. In the first stage, in glycolysis, there were two substrate level phosphorylations. The first one was 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid when converted into phosphoglyceraldehyde. At that time, 2 ATPs were produced. The next reaction was when phosphoenol pyruvate gets converted into pyruvic acid. At that time also 2 ATPs were produced. That was also substrate level phosphorylation. But in glycolysis, we saw that there were two phases. The first phase was glucose activation phase, in which ATP was consumed, and in the second phase it was energy releasing phase, in which ATPs were produced. So 4 ATPs were produced at the substrate level phosphorylation, and when glucose, the first step, when glucose was converted into glucose 6-phosphate, at that time 1 ATP was consumed, and in the third step, when fructose 6-phosphate was converted into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, at that time also 1 ATP was consumed. So total ATPs formed were 4 minus 2, 2 ATPs. Now ATPs from hydrogen produced and sent down to hydrogen transport system. Let us have a look at that calculation. When phosphoglyceraldehyde, the first step in the second phase of glycolysis, phosphoglyceraldehyde when gets converted into 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid, at that time 2 NADH were produced, and you know one NADH will form, one molecule of NADH will form 3 molecules of ATP. So 2 NADH produced, 3 into 2, total 6 ATPs were produced at that stage when phosphoglyceraldehyde gets converted into 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid. So total ATPs that were produced in glycolysis were 2 ATP plus 6 ATPs, that is total 8 ATPs were produced in glycolysis. Now in the next stage, that is pyruvic acid oxidation, there was only one reaction. Pyruvic acid was converted into acetyl coenzyme A with the help of pyruvate dehydrogenase. At that time again 2 NADH were produced, and those 2 NADH formed 2 into 3, 6 ATPs. So in the next stage or second stage of pyruvic acid oxidation, total 6 ATPs were produced. Now the last stage, Krebs citric acid cycle or Krebs pathway, large number of ATPs were produced. If we consider substrate level phosphorylation, then during conversion of succinyl coenzyme A to succinic acid, there was formation of 2 molecules of GTP, and GTP provided its phosphate to ADP to form ATPs immediately. So at that time 2 ATPs were produced, 2 GTPs forms 2 ATPs. Now ATP from hydrogen produced and sent down to hydrogen transport system. In that case, in the conversion of isocitric acid to oxalosuccinic acid, 2 NADH were formed. So what is the calculation for ATP? 2 into 3, 6 ATPs. Why? Because 1 NADH will give 3 molecules of ATP. So 2 NADH will give 2 into 3, 6 molecules of ATP. In the next step, alpha ketoglutaric acid. When alpha ketoglutaric acid gets converted into succinyl coenzyme A, at that time also 2 NADH were formed. So net production was 6 ATPs. In the reaction when succinic acid is converted into fumaric acid, At that time, FADH2 were produced. One FADH2 molecule will give 2 ATP molecules. So 2 FADH were formed. So 2 into 2 total 4 ATPs were formed. And then when malic acid was converted into oxaloacetic acid, the last stage of Krebs cycle, again 2 NADH were formed, which gives total number of 6 ATPs. So total ATPs produced during Krebs cycle were 2 plus 6 plus 6 plus 4 plus 6, that is 24 ATPs. Now if we count the total number of ATPs throughout the oxidation of glucose, then 8 ATPs were produced in glycolysis, 6 ATPs were produced in second stage, that is pyruvic acid oxidation, and 24 ATPs were produced in third stage, that is Krebs citric acid cycle. So total calculation 8 plus 6 plus 24 gives 38 ATPs. So 38 ATPs were produced when one molecule of glucose was completely oxidized in aerobic respiration. So if we talk about the ATPs produced in electron transport system and ATPs produced out of the electron transport system, then the ATPs produced other than electron transport system are 2 ATPs, these 2 ATPs in glycolysis that occurred in cytosol out of mitochondria, and these 2 ATPs that were produced in Krebs cycle in mitochondrial matrix. These two and these 2 ATPs are formed other than electron transport system. Rest all the 34 ATPs, these 6 in glycolysis, the 6 in pyruvic acid oxidation, and 22, these 22 ATPs, these are produced in electron transport system, that is 34. These 34 ATPs are formed in electron transport system, and rest 2 from Krebs cycle and 2 in glycolysis. These ATPs are formed out of electron transport system. Hence, they are substrate level phosphorylation. I hope this account of ATPs is very clear to you. Still, if you have some doubt, you can write in the comment box. Thank you.